What I've got here is the steering column out of a 1966 Corvette. I'm going to be disassembling the entire thing and seeing what kind of parts I need. You can see there's quite a bit of slop right here. I think there's a bushing that needs to be replaced right there, and maybe some others up here. I'm going to tear it all apart, get the replacement parts, paint it up, reassemble it. Or maybe I'll reassemble it first, then paint it up. Go ahead and pull this stuff off. It's already loosened up because I had to take this off in order to get it out of the car. This piece here. Before I take these wires out of the connectors, you can see I've labeled them A and B. They're just little round or horseshoe shaped connector. I think the plastic parts are identical. And I labeled them A and B and then marked where the wires are. Made me a little diagram here showing, the color of the wire that's coming off of each one. One of them has 3 wires, the other one has 4 wires, so that when I get ready to put it back together, I can make sure I get it together right. And to get these out, there's a little tab right on this top side here. You got to get something down in there and kind of get that little tab bent in. There's the tab. And then you can pull them right out. Little spring that goes on top of that thing. I'm thinking maybe this turn signal switch was replaced not too long ago. Oh, got one more. Okay, I thought that should just slide right out of there, but it's not doing it. Let me take this thing loose here. This lower bushing has been probably shot for a long time, and that shaft is just turning right on that metal retaining ring there and wore that all down. Now, I already know I need a new lower bearing because this is all that was left, just a shell. There was no bearing. This upper bearing that goes in the turn signal switch here feels kind of rough. So let me just see if I can get that popped out of there. This little brass horn contact ring slides in there. Yeah, that feels a little rough, so I'll get a new upper bearing also. It's been about a week or so. I got my new parts in, so I'm gonna get this steering column put back together. Got new horn contact, lower bearing, upper bearing, that plastic sheath that goes around the wires, a new cam for the turn signal canceling after you turn, new washer under the spring, and a new horn button. Got a new steering shaft, and I ended up having to get a new steering column jacket, the outer tube. Here's what the original tube looked like. You can see that all of these little tabs on the end are broke off of this one. And then I've got my other parts all cleaned up and ready to go. I'm reusing the same turn signal switch because, like I said, it looked to be fairly new. I think it had been replaced not too long ago. And I got all these parts cleaned up. These pieces here, they're going to get painted. I went ahead and sanded them with some 400 grit, so they'll be ready to go. First thing I'm going to do is put this lower bearing retainer in here. I had to knock this out of the old tube, and I just used the old shaft, came down through the center and popped it right out. And then the lower bearing, it's already pre-lubricated. It needs to get kind of knocked in there too. Go ahead and put this little turn signal canceling cam on here. Now I can put the horn contact in here, and you need to make sure it's the right length. This one actually had this little extension in here, so it was too short, but it comes with this one, so you had to pop this cap off and take this one out and put this one in. So just make sure that it's the right length. Okay, now this goes down in here, and then this will go down inside of that as well, and same bolts holding them both in place. But before we do that, I already did this, but make sure that it's going to fit on here. And you've got a little flat area right there. That's where this opening goes, where your wires are going to go through. So make sure this will go down on there and rotate into place, because mine would not. These tabs were slightly bent one way or the other. I had to kind of maneuver them around a little bit in order to get this to fit. And you see it's still kind of tight. But anyway, now I'm going to set this down in here, and this will only go one way really. And then this, I'm going to try and feed my wires down through here. Now, see if I can get this in there. There we go. It should rotate into place now, though. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's in place. Wires don't seem to be in a bind, so that's good news. And I just wanted to make sure that nothing's in a bind there. So that seems good. Okay, now I can put the bearing in here, and I pack some grease in it a little bit. Okay, it kind of pushes down in there. Now the horn contact ring goes on there. And I put a little dielectric grease right around the surface of it. Make sure that's all the way down. It looks good. One thing I just realized, there's no hole in the tube up here for a screw to go right in there. So I've got this little self-drilling tapping screw that I'm going to put in there. This one's a little bit too long, but once I get the hole in there, I'll grind the tip of it off and then reinsert it. So I've made sure that this little flat right here is in the center of this opening here before I drill the hole. Okay, I shortened that up a little bit so there won't be any interference. A little plastic push pin, and it'll go right here, just like that. Now I can probably go ahead and push this up through there. And there is some alignment that goes on here. On the original steering shaft, there's a little line right here. And that needs to be lined up with that line you see right there on the hub. But this aftermarket shaft doesn't have the line. So what you have to do is take a look at the other end where the flat is. And if you get this flat straight up and down, vertical, and then come back here and slide on your hub to where the mark on the hub is straight up in line with the center of the shaft, then that will give you the proper alignment. I went ahead and put the nut and washer on there and just snugged it slightly. Now on this end, I can put this little washer on there. The spring, and then this clamp. Okay, now I'm going to try and hold all this together, put a little bit of pressure up on the spring. Okay, that feels pretty good. This piece here goes onto the steering wheel, as does the horn, but this will allow me to get everything painted. I'll probably take this back off. I may not paint the tube here since it's been powder coated already. I think I'll mask it off and just paint this part here. I'll paint this piece, I'll take it back off. And I'll paint my steering wheel. I've done some repair work to it. It had a bunch of cracks in various places, some of them as much as 1/8 of an inch or more wide. And I'm going to post a separate video. You can see how I repaired the steering wheel. But I'm going to paint this black to match the steering column and the rest of the interior. From the factory, they came with this fake, if you didn't have the genuine wood steering wheel, you got this fake plastic one that's supposed to look like wood, but it just looks kind of brown. Since the rest of my interior is black, I think I'm going to paint this black. Now that everything's painted up, I can finish the assembly. Okay, I'll put these little connectors back on there. And the first thing I'm going to do is just make sure this little tab is bent out enough to where it'll catch. So I'll just kind of bend that out a little bit like that. Do that on all of them. Okay, and then I'll just follow my little diagram. And I was wrong about these plastic connectors being identical. This one has a couple little slots here on the back side. This is the one that has the 3 wires in it. So I will just get it put back together first. Let's see. And it goes just like this. This one goes in here. Let's see, this one here is next. And this one. Okay, let me double check that. Green, blue, black, blue, black. Okay, and then these sandwich on top of each other when they get plugged in. Now the turn signal lever can go in. I pulled this hub off after I painted it, but I need to make sure I put it back on like I showed a while ago. And on this piece here, there's a little foot right there. Make sure that is in position to rest on that horn contact. And the finishing touch will be my new horn button. Now, I didn't tighten any of those screws because the steering wheel is coming back off. It's going to be easier to install the steering column without the wheel on it. And also, I hadn't tightened that main center shaft bolt yet because the hub needed to come back off after I painted it in order to put the turn signal lever on there. But I wanted to get it painted first before I put that on. But anyway, now we can take a look at the finished product.